Okay, 0.1 whole number exponents with integer bases. This relates to the Khan Academy Algebra 1 Mission of Foundation number 1 skill, or skill number 1. Objective, students will be able to find the value of any integer raised to a whole power. What I want you guys to do first is just in your own words, what is an exponent or a power? So maybe go ahead and pause the video, take a minute to go ahead and just answer that question in your own words, and then I'm going to ask you to take a look back at that later. So what is an exponent? Okay, well, hopefully you paused the video and answered that question. Now let's take a look. Example 1, express the power in words, then write the meaning. Okay, so the first one we've already got written in words. 4 squared means 4 to the second power, or 4 squared. What is the meaning of that? Well, what I mean by meaning is, I want you to just write 4 times 4, because 4 squared equals 4 times 4. So, go ahead and see if you can try the other two here. Express it in words and then write the meaning. You may want to pause the video because I'm going to just throw the answers up in a second. But go ahead and pause it and see if you can do it on your own. Okay, so hopefully you saw that this means 5 to the third or 5 cubed, which means 5 times 5 times 5. And here this means x to the 6th power, which is like saying x times x times x times x times x times x. Okay? So this is kind of just giving us a little review of what an exponent really does. So now in practice number 1, what I want you guys to do is write the expression in exponential form. So go ahead and write it out for me in exponential form, meaning this is exponential form here. So write it how it should look. Again, you may want to just pause the video and try this because I'm going to throw the answers up in just a second. Okay, so 3 squared looks like this, 3 squared. X to the 4th power looks like this, x to the 4th power up here on the top right. S cubed, this looks like this, s to the 3rd power. Cubed always means to the 3rd power. Alright, what I want you guys to do now is go ahead and evaluate what does this mean, x to the 4th power when x equals negative 2. I want you to go ahead and try it, and then we'll check and see if you're right. Okay, so hopefully what you did is you put in some parentheses and you put negative 2 to the 4th power. Well, what I want to do is I just want to show you what this means, remind you that this means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, right? It's negative 2 times itself 4 times. Well, let's break this down into parts. Let's call this the blue part and this the red part. Well, what is negative 2 times negative 2? Well, we should have learned already that a negative times a negative is a positive. So this is going to be a positive value. And 2 times 2 is 4. So we end up with 4 times, and this is the same thing, so this is also 4. So then our answer is 16. Okay? So we see that when we have an even amount of negatives, when we're multiplying, it actually will turn into a positive. Okay, let's practice with this a little bit because where the parentheses are and where the exponent is could change things quite a bit. So they say evaluate the variable expression when a equals 1 and b equals 2. So just dealing with 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and play with that here. This could be written as 1 squared plus 2 squared. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. So this is just 5. Pretty easy. But remember, the parentheses change things. They mean we got to do what's inside the parentheses first. So why don't you go ahead and try and do this one. Example 2b on your own real quick. If this is 1 and this is 2. Again, I'd pause the video and then check back in a second. Okay, well hopefully you saw that we would do 1 plus 2 first, then square it. 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 squared is the same thing as 3 times 3, so it's 9. Alright. So I want you guys to play with this one a little bit. I'm not going to work all these out. I'll just put the answers out or my work shown. But go ahead and pause the video, try these 4, and then check and see if you did it correctly. Okay, here's each of these worked out. And you could pause it and check your work too to compare it. But I just want to point out this one real quick. Notice that when we have an odd power, we're going to have a negative value. And that's because if I was to write this out based on what this really means, this is like saying negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Again, a negative times a negative cancel each other out. They make a positive, but we still have this negative left, which is what's going to make the value negative. So odd exponents, when the value is negative, odd exponents will make it stay negative, and even ones like we saw above will make it stay positive. All right, let's go on to the next page. Okay, we want you to go ahead and try these two. You're just plugging in a -4 for x. Again, I'd pause the video, and I'll put the completed work up in just a second. Okay, so I just want to point out the main difference in these two. Here, we had to do the exponent first, because order of operations says that we do parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. But here we have parentheses, so we actually did the multiplication inside the parentheses first and then use the exponent. So the point of this exercise is just to point out the difference of those two. One you should get -128 and one should get -512. Okay, and so a little side note here, exponents can actually be used to find the area of a square, which we'll get to later on in this class, and the volume of a cube. So, for example, the area of a square is just the side times the side, or side squared, and the volume of a cube like this is the side times another side, or the side cubed. So, a fish tank has the shape of a cube. Each inside edge of the tank is 2 feet long. So each side is 2 feet. What is the volume of the cube? Go ahead and see if you can do this real quick. I'll throw the answer up in a second again, so you may want to pause the video and just see if you can write it out. Alright, so you should have said that it would be 2 cubed, which is 8, and then you would write 8 cubic feet, because that's the unit that we would be dealing with in volume for this situation. Alright, so this next thing is a summary, and I just want you guys to try your best on this one. It's something I check in class. Summary, would you define an exponent or power differently now? Why or why not? If so, how would you describe it now? So that question is referring to the question I asked you at the beginning of these notes. So go ahead and just answer that for me. Don't forget the why or why not. Very important part. All right. See you guys in the next video.